Okay, so this seems to be pretty simple here. I don't think I've forgotten anything. It seems to be, I should leave all these caps and covers and everything on it, you know, at least until you're ready to put the lines and stuff on there, obviously. Okay, this is the clamp. Now we have those two bolts that come through the firewall that are part of holding the heater and evaporator core box up to the firewall there. We got those two bolts coming through there, and then remember we had that plate. It was the one that we forgot and had to put back on. It's that plate that goes on there, and then this attaches to that plate and holds this thing back here so that these lines can bolt to it. So basically how this thing is, this thing just goes around here like this, and then you just squeeze this in a little, and then there's a slot down there. There's a little bracket that comes out with a slot on it, and you just squeeze this and slide this screw over there. You can even see some indentations of where the slot is, and you know where it rode before. So point being, that's how I know that's the correct way for it to go. But you're going to want to leave this loose in there right now. The way it is right now, you can tighten it up a little bit, you know, so that it's not going to fall out of there, but you want to leave it loose, or at least loosen it back up when you go to do a final on it, because you're going to need to, you know, probably turn this, you know, this way a little bit, and maybe adjust the height of it a little bit to suit the lines. So just be aware of that. Like I said, you might maybe, you know, you maybe would be putting this on and then doing the lines right afterwards. That's not the case. I'm going to kind of just bolt this on there to get it out of the way. And since these are capped off and covered up, just get it on there, and then like I said, deal with the radiator. Then after I get the radiator out and get the condenser in there and have this in there, then it'll be time to do the lines. So just going to reach down in here, put this down in here. Okay, it's a 5/16. Okay, so I just kind of tightened it on there a little bit. I mean, it's tight enough so it's not going to fall off of there. Okay, but see, it's still kind of moving around on there a little bit, but it's basically, if I can try and get this out of the way, it's kind of hard to see in there. See if I can put a little light on it here. You can see right there there's that nut and it bracket, and it just slides on that part that's coming out there. It's pretty obvious how it goes on there. So anyways, like I said, I'm just going to leave that there and out of the way. I want to take this box here. It has the O-ring kit and the orifice tube. I'm going to leave them in this box, that way they won't get lost. And I'll just I'll set the box up here, set it wherever, so I know where those are. Actually, I'm going to do the same thing with these clips here. These are the quick connect clips for the 2 air conditioning lines up here. I'm just going to go ahead and put these in there too. That way I don't got to worry about losing those. Put them right here. And so now, pretty much, I guess I'm going to go after tackling the radiator. So there's probably a couple ways to do this. I don't think you have to take the fan off. I think you can just take the shroud off and move it forward and set it on the fan there, and then loosen the 4 bolts or however many there is for the radiator. Take the top and bottom hose off. Maybe take that reservoir tank off, and I think just lift it out. So that should be how that goes. I'm going to take a little look around and see. Let's see here. I think that's, I mean, it looks like we got, a couple of, there's a shroud bolt. There's a top bolt. There's a bottom bolt. Yeah, I think it's just, pretty standard 4 bolt. 4 bolts for the shroud, I think, probably, and 4 bolts for the radiator, and then the upper and lower radiator hose, and then probably that reservoir. Or at least disconnect the reservoir. So that's just probably going to do it. So I guess, well, that's the way I'm going after it, so I guess we'll find out, huh? So, all right, I shall return. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove those 2 lines right there. You got 2 nuts there. They're both 13 millimeter nuts, and I'm using a Craftsman 13 millimeter deep socket and 3/8 inch wrench. What are these? And I mentioned that too because, if you've got a particular set of tools that you worked on a vehicle with, it's not a bad idea to carry that same type of tool with the vehicle, or use that when you work on it again, or if because, I mean, this wrench might fit somewhere fine, but then you go buy another wrench and go to use it, and it won't fit. Maybe it's too big or something. So sometimes it matters what you're using when you're taking something apart, because like I said, it might fit, but some other wrench might not. Alright, got those loose enough to get them off of there by finger. Alright, set these 2 nuts up here. Okay, and this line here is just going to pull off of there. And we're just kind of going to set it here. And the reason I'm going to set these lines here, not just pull them all the way off, is because I'm going to bring the new ones over here, compare them. I mean, I've already kind of looked at them. I know they'll fit, but I'm going to bring the new lines over here, compare them, check them, look at the ends on the new ones, and see what's going on with what needs what O-ring, and just kind of do it one at a time like that, rather than just yanking all this off and having a pile of hoses. This one back here is a solid line, so you don't really replace it, you just replace the O-rings on the end of it. I mean, I guess you would replace it, if your system, I mean, you could flush it out. I guess you could replace it or flush it if your system really got damaged, but I think that's the one, the orifice, yeah, that's where the orifice tube's at too, so we'll deal with that once we get this other situation of the radiator out and this old one out, then that'll be a good time to deal with it, because we'll have a little more room. So I'm going to go grab some more wrenches, and I want to go grab a couple more tools and some wrenches, and get ready to start taking this apart. All right, back, and I'm going to move the camera a little bit here just to I want to show you how this reservoir comes off here. I want to take off this reservoir. See this little slot right here? Right underneath that, you can't really see it from the camera angle, but just a couple inches underneath that is a little dot, kind of a little plastic tab. You just kind of grab the front of it here, you kind of pull up on it, just kind of push in on that. You don't have to push in on it very hard. And this thing just comes off here. And then over here, we've got a little clamp here. I'm going to have to grab some pliers real quick and muscle that off of there. I believe that little clamp just broke. A little bit of it did. It still works, just one of the little ears broke off. Yeah, no big deal. Okay, well this is going to be the lesser of two evils. It seemed to come off easier there than on here, so we'll just put this clamp back where it was on here. Oh, wow. Okay, there it is. It's upset with me now. I disturbed it after 20 years, and it's not a happy clamper. Oh. Yeah, that's good enough. It's not coming off of there. So we'll just set this over here. These shroud bolts are 7/16, and I believe there's only 4 of them, but we'll find out. Wow, those things are really in there. Ouch. Yeah, they're in there. I'm gonna strip out my 1/4-inch ratchet. These things are really in there. It's probably not even in frame. That's okay. Okay. Again, there may be some hack where you can kind of half move the radiator out of the way, but if you're not positive, it's best just to do what you know will work, because a radiator is something you really don't want to damage, you know, unless you really just don't want to have to do that. Okay. I think I'm going to have to get to this other one underneath here. Yeah, it's under here. It's right under the other one. It's right under where those lines come off of the, it's about 2 inches where those studs are for on the condenser for the lines. And it's equally as tight as the other one was. Yeah, you definitely should probably use a 3/8 ratchet on this one, because it's just, you should really use a 3/8 on it. Let's saying the 1/4 inch won't work, but I figured they'd thread out of there a little easier than that. Seems really in there. They're not rusted in there or anything. It's just 1/4 inch. Well, it's probably about 1/8 of an inch or 3/16 worth of pointy bolt in the metal. These things here. So these are no BS. All right, 2 more on this side. I'm going to grab my 3/8. Okay. It's kind of a hodgepodge here. I got a Pro Tool socket wrench with a Craftsman 3/8 inch, like 3-inch extension into a 3/8 to 1/4 inch extension with that 1/4 inch 7/16 on it. So that's a mouthful there. You don't need to do all that. That's just kind of what was laying on the bench, and then just the way I grabbed it off of there. I'm going to take this bottom one out first so that when it starts to droop or hang with the, it'll be easier to get this top one out. Not a bad time to use a power ratchet. I do have one, but I haven't used it in a while, and something tells me if I go to get it, it's probably not going to be charged. I think we're about there. It looks like that other side's flopping around pretty good over there, so it looks like we're probably accurate with the 4 bolts for the shroud here. Okay, 3 down. Get that one out of there by hand. Okay, last one. The radiator seems okay so far, knock on wood. Find some wood to knock on around. It's got 150,000 miles on it, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And I mean, you know, some of this newer replacement stuff is worse than the factory stuff. So, I mean, if it's still working, don't mess with it, maybe. Okay, so we've got the fan shroud sitting forward. And I mean, that's how much room you got between the radiator and that fan. So, you know, unless you want to try and be pushing that forward to pull that, you know, and there's the condenser lines. There's the part over there that's got a clear whatever it is there. That's coming from the condenser where those lines bolt on. And you can't just pull it straight up. There's metal above it. So you kind of got to either pull it this way or you got to pull it forward and up. So like I said, I really don't see any other rational, you know, sure, pain-free way of doing it, damage-free way of doing it, I guess, other than removing the radiator. So with that, again, it looks like we got 4 holding the radiator in. We don't have, it's a manual transmission, so there's no tranny cooler. Looks like just these 2 hoses and these 4 bolts. Again, I'm still really not seeing how you could like I said, I don't have a factory service manual here. I'm going to bet it says remove the radiator, but I'm not seeing how you could yeah, it seems like the thing's going to kind of have to come out like that. I mean, unless you... I don't see any other way of doing it, really. So, I know one thing's for sure. If you get the radiator out of the way, I mean, you're not going to hurt anything if you got to do whatever to get it out of there. So, pardon the wind there. So, all right, I'm going to kind of... make extra sure of my plan of attack here on this, and then I will get back and we'll go from there. Okay, if you don't have a lot of fancy stuff laying around, or even if you do, this is about as good a coolant recovery as you really need for something like this. You just crack the petcock there and let it run into the funnel there, and have a couple of these extra gallon jugs or whatever you've got laying around. But if you got some of these gallon jugs, you know, laying around, they work great for this. If you've got really clean, really new, fresh coolant, you can just reuse it. If it's old or you want to get rid of it, you can take it in and recycle it. It's just it's about as simple and easy as it gets as far as coolant recovery there. So definitely an FYI for you. And you know, you can use, you know, if you need to get some of these jugs, maybe you need a great big drain pan, you can let it go into that. You know, and then dump it into these. It's just really convenient to have it in these jugs like this for, like I said, storage, repurposing it, or recycling it. So, and you can also get funnels that are really, really huge too. So, get creative, and it's good for the environment, and it's cleaner too because you don't have a huge mess all over the place. This is nice and clean. So, just an FYI for you. Stick with me. Okay, we're starting to creep up here. I'm getting full with this gallon here. So I haven't undone the radiator cap either. That'll let it flow a little bit freer. But I just wanted to go ahead and while it was drizzling pretty good, let it go ahead and pretty much fill this gallon here. And actually, let me. I got another one I can grab real quick. Really good use for these old windshield washer fluid jugs. I'll just reach up here and turn this thing a couple turns. Alright. Just move the jug over here. Put the lid on it. Yeah, you got yourself a nice jug of coolant. I mean, maybe you want to flush it. This might be, there's a lot of other things you can use coolant for. You definitely want to take the sticker off of here. You don't want to leave it stored in here and have someone thinking that that's windshield washer fluid. But like I said, some of this stuff's going to be on you guys to not make colossal boo-boos like that. probably one of the biggest things you can make sure you do in life is to make sure that whatever you put really bad things aren't labeled as something that's good. So, but this isn't going to be stored long term. Most of it's probably going to be put back in here. Alright. I'm going to lose my audience. Everybody's going to have to go to the bathroom after watching this. Alright, well, we seem to be running out right about there. So there was probably about, well, yeah, that's about what was in the radiator. So, yeah. So we're going to go ahead and tighten that petcock back up over there. Then I'm going to get the appropriate socket, loosen all these bolts, loosen the hoses, and get ready to pull her out. So I shall return. Okay, so there's basically 4 10mm. There's one, it's a little rusty, it's down there, you can see it. There's one there, and then there's 2 corresponding ones on the other side here. One there, and then another one. It's kind of hard to see. It's down there. There's kind of a hole like this down in this part of the shroud down there to get through it. It's just down past on the other side of this thing here. There's like a hole out there you can get a socket into. So I'm going to come over here and start working on those. I'm going to go after these bottom ones. You know, yeah, I'm debating on whether or not I should just break those radiator hoses loose now. I'm going to go ahead and do the top one. Let's see what we've got going on there. Oh, and while there is an appropriate tool for these, a pair of channel locks works pretty darn good. Okay, yeah, there's no problem there. That one's pretty loose, so. While I'm standing here with them in my hand, let's go down here and just do the bottoms too. See what we got going on down here. Okay. Alright. The biggest pain in the butt with any hose clamp ever is, did the last person put it on there in a way that you can get to the get to it halfway easy. It doesn't matter whether it's a worm style clamp that you use a screwdriver on or one of these clip styles. You just always hope that they put the darn clip or the screwdriver at an angle that you can get to it. Okay, that's good enough, I think. Yeah, that one doesn't feel like it's got any resistance either. It's just not ready to fall. Come right off of there too, so that's good. Okay. And let's go ahead and close our petcock over here just so that nothing else drips out while we're tilting the radiator around. Alright. Alright, so we just a quick recap here. We got a couple of old windshield washer jugs, couple gallon jugs in a funnel, put them under the petcock of the radiator here, and got our we collected our coolant in these jugs here. So we did that. We loosened the clamps on both the top and bottom radiator hose and wiggled the hoses, and they're both ready to just slide off of there. We took the 4 bolts off, which I think were 14mm socket. We took those bolts off the shroud and set the shroud forward. We took our coolant reservoir off, just one little button tab on the back of it, pull on it, pull it up, and then pull the hose off of here. Again, that was, whoops, this prop rod, I tell you. Again, you just push in on this down here, and this just pulls straight up off of there. This is really, this here and this here is kind of just holding it on there, so not much going on there. And now we've got 4 10mm bolts holding the radiator on here. So let me go ahead and again, I was just going to start taking these off, but I wanted to make sure the hoses were going to come loose. Always better to have the radiator still bolted to the car. Okay. All right, let's see here. We've got, so the steering column joint is right there, and so this deep socket is not cutting it. So I need to get a 10mm. Probably need to get the 1/4 inch. All right, we got the old 1/4 inch ratchet. Let's see. Probably doesn't need probably not going to want the extension on that one either. Okay, let's see if we can get here down at this. Kind of fidgety to get to. Let me see if it's easier to get to from underneath here. Sometimes that's the case. Yeah. Well, not really in this case either. That's just a kind of a bit to get to. Okay. Just going to be a little fidgety. That's one of my locals on the radio there I need to go have a chat with here in a second. Alright, I'll be back. Alright, so this one here, we almost got this one out. Alright, basically 4 of these. Just going to loosen this one over here. Move the camera over here. And go after this one that's down in here. On this side here. Okay, that one's going to need a socket, and I'm going to crawl under there and see if that one's easier to get to. So I'm going to, give me a second here, I'm going to check on that. I need to move those coolant jugs out of the way. Alright, so this one here, I'm using a Craftsman 1/4 inch with a like a Pittsburgh 4-inch 1/4 inch extension and a Craftsman 10mm short socket. You need to kind of rotate this shroud down a little bit, and there's kind of a hole down here, like I said, in this metal piece. It's kind of like right here, but it's down further, and you got to get your wrench in there, and it's back in there. It's down in there somewhere. There. It's actually on there now. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, you basically got to have that little extension going through this hole into that socket. But to do that, I kind of had to take the fan shroud and kind of rotate it down because this ear on the bottom wouldn't allow me to get that socket through that hole, so I kind of had to rotate this shroud at an angle like that so that I could get the little extension through the hole in this part here to get to the nut, so, or the bolt. So you'll see it and you'll understand it. It'll make sense when you get in there. It's just you know, trying to do it right and not push or force anything, so it takes like a little extra time. So I'm going to see if I can get a couple turns on that here. Let me set this thing back up in here. Okay. Of course, that's going to be like the tightest bolt. I'm going to try and get my left hand down in there so I can see if I can use my left hand a little bit here. It helps to be somewhat ambidextrous when you're doing this kind of stuff. Oh man. Okay, finally starting to get some turns on it here. Alright, so it's loose enough. I'm just going to take this extension off, shine my light down in here. I mean, if you got somebody that can shine a light, or you got a light clamped down in here, you'll be able to see what you're doing a lot better. But it's important to get these bottom ones all the way out because you don't want it hanging up down there when you're trying to take it out. Okay, let me grab that one there. All right. Like I said, there's 4 of these. All right, get the bottom ones first. Now we're going to go for the top ones. So after these things start getting loose, this thing should start getting pretty wobbly. Okay, we're getting there on this one. Okay. Alright, trying to remember if there's anything I forgot. And if I did, I'm sure it will become brutally apparent in just a few moments. Okay. take this wrench off of here. Okay, put the wrench back on here. This one's got a bracket that holds this hose, breather hose on here for, looks like the differential. And so that bracket made threading it out a little more difficult. Okay, so 2 out on that side, 2 out on this side. Yeah, oh yeah, she's ready to come out of there. So what I'm going to do is make sure the shroud is as far forward as possible. And I'm going to just kind of hold this side here while I kind of pull this bottom off a little bit all the way down here if I can. Okay, got the bottom all the way off, so now the only thing that's holding her in there is this top one. Alright, good to go there. Kind of hold that away. What you don't want to do is smash the front of it into the fan clutch. Or catch it on this, drop it, and then smash it into the front of the fan clutch. Don't want to do that. Okay, so there we go. I mean, again, I'm not sure exactly how you would have gotten this mess out of here. You know, I mean, I'm still not even, okay, this is just like a rubber plastic thing that comes off here. Okay. But yeah, that's, I don't think you were going to push the radiator forward. That would just be risking too much there to have to worry about that. So let me come over here and get another shot of what we're dealing with here. I mean, you could have pulled it out and straight up on this side here, but over there with all that, I don't think so. And the closest thing to the radiator is the end of this fan clutch here. So you could have only put it forward maybe a couple of inches. So I guess we'll see when we loosen this thing up how much forward we got to bring it and to wiggle it out of there. But I am thinking it's more than a couple inches, but I guess we'll find out. So with that, this radiator, I mean, when you got that condenser in front of it, it's going to get dirty and crap behind it. So this thing's definitely going to get a nice hosing, and it'll definitely benefit from that. It's not going to be any worse for the wear after cleaning it off. It's in pretty good shape, really, for its age, considering. So I think we'll just give this a good hose off, and going to do that, and then we'll get back to getting this condenser out of here. So once again, I shall return. Well, that looks a whole heck of a lot better, if you ask me. I mean, there was a lot of crap down in there, and you could see the crap coming out of the fin. So it's a lot cleaner. So it should. That's a good thing. So had a good flush, ran the hose through it, and cleaned it out real good. So should be ready to go. So again, I'm going to get to removing the bolts for this thing here, and get this thing out of there and see what it takes to get it out of there. I'll probably put the camera over here so we can kind of keep an eye on all that stuff over there to see how it comes out of there. So all right, stick with me. Okay, well, my battery's about ready to hit it, so, but our pile of parts is dwindling, so we are officially down to these 2 hoses here and our condenser here. So again, we're about ready to get that thing out of here. So with that, I'm going to pause this thing, put a new battery in her, and we'll get back at it. Stick with me. Alright, so just to recap again, we had taken the radiator out and cleaned it up, and now we're taking the old condenser out. As you can see, you got 2 bolts on the top here, this bracket here and that one there, and then down there on the bottom there's 4 bolt holes, but there's just 1 bolt in each set of holes there. And that's what we're working on now. I got these 2 top ones here loose, 10 millimeters again, and then down at the bottom you can't see them, but if you feel down at the edge you can tell that they're down there. So I'm going to try and see if I can set the camera just like that. See if I can loosen these 2 down here. Okay, might want to take the extension off. I can feel them here. Let's see, go along the edge here. All right. Yeah, there's one here. These bolts are like have rubber bushings or washers underneath them, so they kind of make a rubbery squeaky sound when you turn the first couple of turns or so. Don't be alarmed. I mean, you could be alarmed if you want to, but you still need to take them out. Alright, got the one bottom one out, and we're just going to feel across the edge here from where that one was to this other one here. Working on it here, almost. These bolts are kind of stiff getting them out of there. Again, I still don't see getting this thing out of here with too much ease with the radiator in here, so. Okay, this thing's spinning an awful lot. I'm gonna make sure this thing's not. Okay. Trying to get this thing out, it's taking forever. I don't know if the nut on the back side of this thing has come off or what, but it just seems like it just wants to keep spinning. So I'm sure something stupid happened. Oh. Really don't need this crap. Well, it just seems like it keeps spinning, so I don't know what the problem is. It's just one of those things that wants to fight me. That's just all it is. I'm going to try and put some tension on this thing and see if I can kind of put some tension on it while I'm push out on this a little bit while I'm trying to unscrew it. It's probably just needs to catch on the threads or something. I don't know. But I'm not going to sit here and wrench on it all night with the camera on, so I'll be back. Okay, well apparently the nuts on these, the back sides of these things, they're kind of like a rubber thing with a nut on them. I don't know how to explain it. Apparently they have a habit of spinning, because the top one is doing it and that one on that side down on the bottom's doing it. So I got to figure out how to get those things out of there, and then I'll come back. Okay. So there's these nuts here on the other side, and they're like this rubber, vulcanized rubber around some kind of nut, and they start spinning and it's almost impossible to grab a hold of them. This one here I kind of pried up on it a little bit while I was, turning it, trying to get it to kind of catch, and it seems the rubber part seems to have kind of shredded and wants to just come out, and then two of them came out okay, and these two on this side didn't. So this one here seems to just be kind of pulling out from the bottom here too, so it looks like this whole thing is just kind of getting ready to come out of here, so it looks like it just wants to come out. So we're just going to try and again, this is where that I don't see how you're getting this out of there with a radiator in there. Kind of got to lift this up out of here like this. Again, this is the part that gets in the way, and you get a lot of this dirt and all this crap on here. Not bad on the back side here, but so we got that out of there. If I can get this bolt off of here, but these are these. If I can show you here. These screwed up fasteners here. I see you could get replacement ones online, but again, this is basically a piece of rubber that's got a nut inside of it, and this piece of rubber goes inside, into that hole in there to kind of keep it, a little vibration proof. But there's no way to get a hold of that nut. I mean, it's a round nut. At least they could have made it so you could have maybe got a hold of it. But anyway, so I see replacement ones of these. I'm not going to have time to order replacements and get them and put it, so I'm just going to come up with something I can put in there. You can get to these, after you've got it all together. It's just a matter of reaching through the grill and replacing this one, and then going down and replacing this one that's on the bottom here. Like I said, it'd be in the vehicle, this way. So it's the two that are on the passenger side. Same thing happened with that one there. So once again, so we've got this one out here. I'm gonna go ahead and get some kind of pair of pliers or something. I'm gonna see if I can do that now. Actually, let's see if I can get some pliers on there. Well, let's see here. The socket. Okay. The socket wound up in my drill. So I'll just see if we can put some vice grips on there and spin these off of there. And then I can get some other kind of nut to put on here, and just until I get some replacements. It's probably not even the bolt that you get. You probably just get the nut, Okay, again, we're just going to see if we can get this old bolt out of here. Not really on there. Alright, well that got air out of there. It was on there though, that's for sure. So, alright, I'm going to take this one off down here. Again, you don't want to be trying to do this in the car with a radiator in there. Not that you would be necessarily, but glad I took the radiator out. Probably can't see any of it now. Okay. Dang. Okay. Alright, so once again, these couple of bolts, and they go into these nuts here, but these are just round nuts that have rubber around them, and then they go into those mounting holes there, and it's like that on all 4 of them. 2 of them came out okay, and the other 2 obviously did not. So like I said, I can just you know, come up with some rubber washers. I can kind of some O-rings. I can come up with something to kind of insulate a little bit and order a couple of more of those, or depending on how good of a home job I come up with, I might not need to worry about it at all. So we'll get going on that in a minute here, or probably tomorrow, because I got to figure that out. Then we got to put the new condenser in. Then we got to put the radiator back in. Then we got to put the hoses on. Then we got to start sealing it up and recharge the damn thing. So, anyways, just a short little thing on that there. The bolts in there may give you a hard time coming out of there, so that's what you got to do in that situation. So, basically, if you just put some pliers on the backside, or if you just shred the rubber that's on there, the nuts will come through the holes. So if you just get rid of the rubber that's on the nuts, you can pull the whole thing out. So that's what's going on there. Again, I shall return, so stick with me. We're getting there. So real quick, I just decided, since I've got 2 nuts that are working just fine, a top and a bottom, so I'm just going to go ahead and I don't really need to clean anything in here out. It's fine as it is pretty much after I got the radiator out and was able to hose it out, so it's pretty much ready to put this thing back in here. So I'm just going to put this in here, and that way I can get started. Just kind of need to feed it down through here. This shroud gets in the way a little, but after you get it past that, it seems to go down there where it wants to go. Brackets on here look bent, but I don't think they are. And when I say that, they're kind of bent like that. They could be bent a little bit, I guess. Who knows? This replacement stuff's kind of wonky, if you ask me, but that's just the way it is sometimes. Alright, we got this one going in there. Go down here and find our bottom one here. Get our bottom one threaded in there. I may have to hunt for this one a little bit. Okay, let's see. Well, there's... Okay, I got it. Okay, I'm having a problem finding that particular one, so let me get down underneath here and see if I can figure it out. Oh. Okay, this hole is like, it does seem like those tabs are bent because it's about a 1/2 inch, like too tall to go down where those holes are. So just gonna push. That's what you're gonna do. Is just gonna have to bend these things down. Again, you really don't have any choice when you need to put new parts on there. It's just kind of what you have to deal with, and yeah, sometimes you can get factory replacement parts, but sometimes those are so horribly expensive then you can't even afford to repair it. So get the shroud out of the way here. Okay, let me see if we're anywhere near. This is kind of part of what one of those washers looks like there. Okay, let's see if we're any closer to getting this hole down here. It's still off by a ways. Probably a 1/2 inch. Oh. One size fits nothing. Okay, well, we're going to pull it out a little bit here. We're going to have to take this one off here. Probably just seriously bend that there. Now we got to make sure we can still get a bolt hole in here, or bolt in here. What's going on here? Okay, this nut's wanting to slip out and do all kinds of weird crap here. Sure don't give you this new stuff with the parts, that's for sure. See, here's what they look like. And they got a nut in there, and then it goes down through this rubber here, and oh, what a pain in the ass. They should really give you new ones of these, or recommend you get new ones. Because yikes. Alright. Again, this is why stuff gets jacked up if you take it to a shop and they don't do a good job or do what they're supposed to do. They let stuff like this go, or they don't tell you, or they don't fix it right. Okay, let's see if we're anywhere near getting that bolt in down here. Oh. Just kind of strolled out here this evening to do a little bit of work on it, and you know how that goes. It's close. Probably maybe about 1/8 of an inch off. Jesus. I don't know how much more I can bend this thing down. Guess as much as I need to. Within reason. Oh, man. Alright, I gotta grab my mallet here. Now I grab the other one. All right. All right. Try it again. I always worry about that with these aftermarket condensers and stuff. Are they going to fit in there right? Because they're just kind of that way. I mean, it's kind of close. It's right there. It just sort of doesn't want to go in straight. Almost going in. Try and put a wrench on it. I'm just going to pause this real quick because this is some serious dead air time here. Alright, so I had kind of enough rubber pieces and one of those round nuts left to sort of make it work. I was able to kind of put the rubber thing through there and the nut back on the other side. So these are both, the top ones are both kind of insulated like they're supposed to. And I'm going to work on something for the bottom. The holes are close enough to line up to get the bolts through, but those little rubber things on the bottoms kind of took a crap too. So let's see, I don't see any more of the rubber left. Here's one of the little round nuts that comes in there. So again, it's just basically almost like a grommet that goes around the hole, and then the nut goes on the other side and this goes through. So even just probably like a rubber electrical grommet. I mean, if you don't have anything else to use, which that's maybe what I'll do, is just a regular, like a rubber electrical grommet for a hole, for like a piece of wiring to go through. Something like that would work, and then just put a bolt in and a nut on the other side. An aircraft nut would be good. That way you could just tighten it down a little bit and not have to crank it, all the way down, and that would work just fine. Otherwise, you can get the replacements for those things online. I've seen them, so I'm going to go ahead and figure out a good fix for the bottom too, so we can get back with this tomorrow and then get the radiator back in there. So with that, I shall return. Stick with me. Okay, so a little bit of whine, biatch, complain time here. So apparently when you put a new condenser on, air conditioning condenser on, there's a kit you can get. Because what happens is basically you get these bolts, and the nuts basically are kind of like this, they're like a piece of rubber with a nut inside. And as you tighten it, it kind of mushrooms in the hole, and that's what holds it in there. And you just, usually, unless you just replace them, are probably going to need new ones if you replace it. A couple of them came off okay, but then after I took them off, the rubber started kind of falling off. So the problem is it's going to be June soon, and like in a couple days, and it's getting warm out, and this person needs their vehicle back. So I don't really have time to order any, and they're kind of so here's the thing. You can put these things in after you put it all back together. I mean, you just reach through the front of the grill and on the top of the radiator support there to get to these. And then the bottom two, pretty much the same thing. I'm having the condenser is being a little bit of a difficult fit as well. I'll get to that in a minute. But I just want to go through. But that's basically what they look like there. That's a repair kit, an aftermarket kit. They're like $15, and then another $5 or $6 for shipping. Here's another one here. Out there you can really get a good idea of what the rubber nuts look like. These are a little different. Those nuts actually look... Oh, no, they don't. I was going to say they have a backside, but they don't. They're just a rubber, kind of a tube with a nut in there. So, yeah, so here's the thing. If you basically can look at that and understand what it is they're trying to do, i.e. put basically a piece of rubber tube through the hole, kind of like a grommet, and then tightening that down. You could take some fuel line or some other type of hose and put it through there, put a nut on each side, and kind of accomplish the same thing, which is what I'm going to do now for time's sake and getting this thing back together. The bottom two holes are kind of inaccessible from the back side, so I may have to do something a little bit different there and get creative. But again, the radiator bolts in front of this thing, you can get to these bolts and stuff after you put it all back together, so I'm not overly worried about that. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So, but again, as long, like I said, as long as you're aware of kind of what they're trying to do, you know, which is basically run a rubber grommet through the hole in the vehicle, and then kind of through the hole in the condenser there, just to kind of not have it metal on metal. I mean, it's going to be stiff, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would imagine over time as these things wear out, they probably kind of should flop around in there, maybe. I don't know. But by that time, they've been in there so long, you know, they're probably not going anywhere. So with that, let me take this thing off of here real quick, and I'm going to go show you what we got going on over here. So this condenser, and as a lot of aftermarket parts are going to be, it just really does not want to fit quite right. This top bracket here, the way that it's bent, it really should sort of go out and then down, and then kind of straight down instead of just kind of straight over and down, because the bottom holes didn't want to line up. They're about a ½ inch too high on this. Like, this whole thing needed to go down about a ½ inch. So I kind of bent these brackets just a little bit, and if I mess with them and kind of fiddle with it, that'll probably be enough. I'll have to screw around with it. But then again, you've got the mismatch of the holes, and then you've got the nuts that need to go in those holes. So those holes need to be kind of matched, because you got to be able to get that rubber grommet on those nut things, however they are, what I just talked about in there. Sorry, I'm babbling at this point, but you get what I'm saying. The bottom two holes need to be lined up so that bolt and rubber grommet thing can go through them straight. And it's kind of hard, if not impossible, to get to the back side of the holes down there. I don't know. It's like part of the frame that they just go into. So when your rubber grommets bite the dust, they just, I guess, just roll around in there. I don't know. Kind of crazy. Let me see if I can get this thing down there a little bit and kind of show you what I'm talking about here. It's just ridiculousness, I tell you. Okay. So basically, that hole right there at the end of my finger just does not really want to play very nicely with this one right here. And I mean, it's getting there close. And there's stuff you could do. You could cut this out here and just slot it and put a larger washer on there. You could... it's frustrating because the way this thing is and the way those brackets are at the top, it's really not easy to make it so it fits in there exactly factory like it's supposed to. And that's really frustrating, because when I'm doing a video like this, I want to try to, you know, unless whatever the factory thing is basically regarded as crap, let's get rid of it, do something different. Unless that's the case, I like to try to replace this stuff and do it as you're supposed to do it, or like a mechanic shop would do it, or hopefully better than some mechanic shop would do it. So, but anyways, that's kind of what's going on over here. You had a slight mismatch of the holes on this bottom part, and it's just because of the way the bracket's bent. And then the tubes over there, the two tubes that come out of the side, those things were bent in quite a bit too. I don't know if that's just the way they came out of the factory, or if that happened in shipping or what. So anyways, I'm kind of PO'd about the whole thing, because it's just, you know, I was hoping to have the radiator back in, be bolting all the hoses up and ready to charge this thing today, and then, you know, I run into this. So I'm gonna spend the day getting this thing to fit in there good, and figuring out something similar to that little goofy show in there for the nuts and the grommets thing, so I can start getting this thing back together. So once again, good thing I took the radiator out, because fiddling around with this thing back and forth in there, that would have just been, you know, a nightmare. So with that, I shall return. Okay, so just a quick F.Y.I. for what's going on down in here. I don't know if you can see, but down in here, this is without the condenser in here. Underneath it, originally, it's maybe gone by now, you've got this rubber, not really rubber, but I don't know what it is, flap here. These are the two holes that the condenser bottom part needs to line up against. And then you put those grommets in there. And then back behind here, you can kind of feel the old grommet. There's, like I said, it's just kind of this weird little void in the frame here. So, you know, you could probably get it out with a screwdriver or something. But yeah, this is kind of a goofy little situation here. Kind of a weird way to have that. You just kind of can't really get to it. So I may have to get creative down here with these holes. You know, until I can get the grommets, I may just have to put some rubber grommets or some rubber in there and maybe just zip tie them or something, you know, just kind of temporarily, because like I said, I'm pretty sure I can get to those with the radiator in place. So, I guess we'll find out. Anyway, so that's kind of what's going on with that. So, anyways. Alright, so for now, the tops are going to get this piece of fuel line here between the top and the radiator support here, like that. And then on the other side, it's going to get a washer and a nut, and then probably some Loctite on there. And I haven't figured out what I'm going to do for the bottom ones yet, but I'm not that worried about it. Like I said, this will be fine until the other ones come in, or I may choose to leave it this way too, because like I said, that's a stretch for those bottom holes down there, and I would rather kind of alter this, you know, than the actual vehicle. So I may just end up doing something a little bit different down there for those. But we'll see. Anyways, I think we got the tops figured out for now. And like I said, you could pretty much swap the tops out anytime you want, because you can just reach right in here to the undersides here and do whatever you need to do. So tops aren't too bad to get to, at least. Stick with me. Okay, so basically some of this foam weather stripping stuff, this squishy foam weather stripping stuff here on the inside bottom edge of the condenser here, and then some zip ties through, ouch, it and the holes here. So that's a little ghetto, but not too bad. You know, like I said, I got that stuff, so nothing's metal to metal, and then the top, it's got that piece of fuel line in there, so I think that is in the spirit of the factory and what they kind of were trying to do. So at least you can look here and tell if your zip ties are bad. Those rubber grommet things start getting loose and falling apart and stuff, and that thing could be rattling around and you wouldn't even know it. So something to check on your vehicle, I guess, if it's done a lot of off-roading. Anyways, hopefully that came out okay on the video. So anyways, like I said, gotta do what you gotta do. And at least it's just the condenser, it's nothing any further back. So, you know, if you gotta replace it or something happens, you know, it's as quick as, you know. And I say that because when you start running into these problems and you wonder about, oh, well, it's an aftermarket, you know, condenser and blah, blah, blah. But at least they're one of the cheaper parts of the system, and it's not too big of a bear to replace it, although I would rather not. But, you know, I will tell the owner if they have any problems with it and it's related to the condenser, I will replace it for them. So, anyways. So otherwise, you know, these things, like I said, there's a piece of fuel line in between here and a rubber and, you know, and a nut and stuff on the back side. So it's you know, it's in there good and solid like it should be, but it's not like bolted solid to it. So I think we're pretty good to go. And like I said, these top ones are real easy to replace the nuts on those. So all right, I'm going to I guess trim up those zip ties, double check everything here, and then we'll come back and put the radiator back in. Stick with me. Alright, well, I think we're pretty much good with the condenser install here. Again, we've at least got our original bolts there, and it looks like she's in there pretty good, so I don't think we'll have too many problems because of it. So that's that. I trimmed those zip ties back and I think we're pretty much good to go here. So with that, I'll get to getting the radiator in there. And again, while I'm on the subject of it here, there's the old one there. Not a huge difference in the way the brackets or anything were on it. It just was made enough different that, you know, radiators, heater, all that kind of stuff. If the tolerance is off a little bit, then, you know, you never know what you're going to get. So that was the old one anyways. But while I'm on the subject, once again, if you do this project and you're thinking ahead or able or, you know, think about it, that is the replacement kit. That's what they call it. Your AC condenser mounting hardware kit. And there's a few different you know, incarnations of those. So all right, so with that I'm gonna just go ahead and say we're done putting the condenser in there, and we'll get on with putting the radiator back in. Alright, we're back, and it's time to put that radiator back in, so let me reach around the corner here and grab it. Okay. So again, this thing just drops down in there pretty straight. Shouldn't be anything too tricky. Of course, you know how that goes, right? Maybe move this top radiator hose. Move the shroud a little bit here. Just kind of lower down in there. Alright, and there's where the first bolt goes. Once you get these top two bolts in, you should be pretty good to go here. And we got a we got our hose vent here that we got to remember to get out from down there. Put this through there. Out of there. I got wasps trying to make a house in here. Leave anything parked or anything sitting around here too long, and when it starts getting hot out, man, they start to... They were probably getting ready to build a house in this radiator. Okay, just kind of snug these things up here. And put our top hose on here. And I'm going to grab my pliers real quick. Again, there's a special tool for these that I do not own. But it's probably pretty cool. Keep you from doing that. Tighten these, close these jaws just a little bit more here. Okay. If you pay attention, you can kind of get these clamps on in the same spot. It's kind of a good habit. You can usually see where the indentation is. This one had a blue marking across the top of it too, so. Alright, so we got that done. I'm going to grab these other two bolts here and get these in down on the bottom there. And I'm going to check this hose down here. See if it seems like we're going to want to, let's see, I'm trying to remember how I got this hose out of here. This. I think we've got a hole. Where is it? Oh yeah, I think I'm going to need my ratchet, my extension to get this one in, it seems like, if I remember correctly. Let me look over here and see if I can remember how this thing goes. I think I'm just not looking hard enough here. Where is it? Lower mounting hole just up and vanished on me. Pretty sure I need my extension and a wrench to go in there. That's a good trick. Losing the lower mounting radiator mounting hole. Oh, there it is. Just kind of snuck away from me there. Oh, maybe that's the okay, the shroud bolts are bolts to this, so that should be okay. That one seems to just went right in there, so if I can just find the one over here. Well, that one you do kind of need an extension of sorts. It's not that hard to get at, but it's kind of, I kind of see what's going on with it now. So I kind of want to move this fan shroud a little bit here. It's okay. Just want to move this guy a little bit here, and yeah, you can kind of see where you're going to need an extension, so let me grab my little... Okay, again, this is a 10 mil and a 1/4 inch ratchet with a 1/4 inch, 4 inch extension, and a 10 mil ought to do it. Let me pause it here. Okay, again, sorry for the crappy view, but if you can kind of see down in here, it's, you got to go through one of these holes in the front of this radiator thingy here, and there's a spot. You can kind of see where the ratchet's on there, that extension, but it goes through this radiator frame part. This, yeah, pointing at it with one finger. I'm gonna, I can't I can't do all this with one hand. Sometimes I can't do it all with two hands. Who am I kidding? Put this on here, and we should be able to tighten this one up once we get it through a little. Again, it goes through one of these holes down here, but it's down further, and the shroud kind of gets in the way. So you gotta set the camera down. Jeez, it's getting warm out today. Sitting here playing footsie with this thing. Okay. bugs going into my ear. Like you can see a lot there, I know. Okay, we're gonna have to come back to that one because I'm just getting eaten alive by bugs and shit here. Get this one in there. Not the ideal spot to be working in this thing right now in the direct sunlight, but trying to get it done. Another good thing about using a 1/4 inch on these is you don't get this stuff too tight. You don't want to reef down on this stuff too much. Gives you more room to work too. Okay, get this one down here. Okay, for some reason it's not. Almost. Sure, when you're working in the heat like this, you go in every few minutes and drink some water and get out of the sun for a few, because you dehydrate yourself. Alright, I'm going to try and get another couple of turns on this last one over here, and I'm going to take a break. My camera's probably already overheating. So, almost. I'm going to move it over here. Sorry, but... Oh! Front of it there. Again, you really need to have some patience. Project's been drawing on, so I'm just running out of them. It's a big project though, I mean it is. Lots of tight clearances, stuff hard to get to. Man, that thing just wants to... The bolts are kind of long, and man, they just drone on forever trying to put them in here. Like some of my videos. Just drone on and on. Oh, I really need to go in and get out of the sun here. I think I can get at that bolt better after I get this shroud back on here, so I gotta go in and take a break. cooking really good. It's hot out here today, so. All right, go in and let everything cool off. Stick with me. All right, back after a little break and a little cool down. All right, again, I've double checked everything pretty much with this condenser here, and then we've got the radiator in there now. There was one more screw down here I was going to tighten or bolt for the radiator, but I'm going to go ahead and start putting these shroud bolts in here. And again, you're going to have to maybe move this thing around just a little bit here. Okay. Four of these. Okay, let's see there. And these are bigger than a 10 mil, which is kind of weird. You'd think these would be 10 mil too, but they're not. Every socket but the one I had sitting in front of me, apparently. It is a 11 millimeter. So the radiator bolts are 10 millimeter, the condenser bolts are 10 millimeter, and the shroud bolts are 11. Go figure. And these bolts have some, they're going through metal, so they're really stiff, so make sure you know when you're getting down to the plastic so you don't over torque it, because they are tight going in there. They start to loosen up once you get to their home position, but you just don't want to lay into them too tight, because like I said, they're tight to thread in there, but long project. This is really long too. I mean, this wasn't just the heater core, this was everything. Pretty much, so. Oh, okay. Do I fumble around down here? All right. And I got one more to put in down here on this side here. Where'd it go? There, somewhere around here. All right, we got this one going home here. So we'll tighten this bottom one here, and then we'll move up to the top one. Okay, the extension is going to work better for this one. Oh, this prop rod. All right. And while you're doing this, now is a good time to inspect, because I haven't put it on yet, your lower radiator hose. And make sure it's okay since you got the radiator drained. Probably a good idea to check your radiator cap too. And your upper one too. I mean, check your whole cooling system there, really. Okay. I'm going to check down here real quick and put one more turn on this petcock here. Okay, it was pretty tight. And I'm going to look at this lower radiator hose here and figure out if it needs to be replaced or not. It still looks pretty good. I'm going to leave it unhooked for now. I'm going to check everything now. I'm going to see what I need to do for the hoses and for the O-rings and that lower radiator hose. So I'm going to get a rag and clean that hose off really good so I can look at it really good and make sure it looks like it's halfway decent before I just put it back on there and leave it on there. Then after I get that on there, I'm going to kind of maybe tie up these hoses a little bit, and I'm probably going to, maybe start it up and run it and get the coolant flowing and kind of get all that working and stuff, and then I'll get ready to charge it. So anyways, that's where we're at right now, putting it back together. I guess I should I didn't really think about it. I need to put this I guess we're done tightening all this stuff up over here. I think we're good to put the coolant jug back in here too, which is just you line these two things up, put it in and push it down, and it just kind of pops onto that right there. That's all that is. And it's usually easier to take this hose off of the radiator part here than vice versa, but whichever end's easier. And of course, we're empty here. Gonna leave our cap loose. All right, I'm gonna gather up my stuff and get ready for the next phase here.